This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1173, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, it's Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, it's artist, producer, mogul, Derek Miner.
What's happening?
And just down the street there, our managing editor downtown, Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Derek, I'm glad you're safe. We were all very concerned. You told us via text just minutes ago, that you're running a couple minutes late because of why?
Because I told my kids repeatedly, now that they're out of school, that you can't just do what you want to do upstairs, and you should talk to me before you use the microwave or the stove. My 10-year-old decided that he wanted to make some fish sticks and put them on cook for like 10 minutes in the microwave. So I get a text from Vivint that says, your house is on fire. I run upstairs and I have a 10-year-old looking at me very stupidly. and I see fish sticks that look like charcoal now that are in the microwave. He didn't think to come downstairs and grab me. Nothing. He just looking at the microwave like, oh my God.
Now, 10-year-olds can read on the back of a package that says microwave on high for 3 minutes, right?
First of all,
fair,
go ahead. Well, it's because he's black. Like, black people, we don't read instructions on cooking. That's what it is.
You just follow your heart.
You just follow your heart. Like, I ain't never seen my auntie use a recipe in her life. Like, it's just, we don't do that. It's like, I think I know what we're doing. Boom. It's what it is.
You just got to burn down a couple of kitchens. You learn your lessons and you apply it moving forward. Yeah.
I like that. I've never used a meat thermometer one time. When I'm grilling, I know when it's done. I just feel it. Like,
dude, it's the hand test. Absolutely. This is rare. This is medium rare.
Yeah.
This
No,
is
he
medium.
means he feels it in his heart.
Yeah, I don't. There's no timer. There's no temperature. I just there's something instinctual. Like, this meat's ready. Like, it's time to come off. Like, there's no need. There's no need to, our ancestors didn't use meat thermometers. They felt it, and that's
house
how
smells like burnt plastic and burnt
fish,
fake cod.
Lovely.
Well,
it's the best smell on the planet.
Derek, when you were alerting Emily to this via SMS message, she was text message, whatever, text message.
2018, good Lord.
It's still whatever. When you had texted her about this dilemma, she didn't know the best way to respond. And
she's like, do I heart this?
Because you said, because I asked if you were on your way and you said, yes, my kids almost burned my house down. And I was like, do I like it to confirm?
No, you do not do a thumbs. You don't do a thumbs up because that's a jerk. That's a jerk
down?
move.
Do I thumbs down because your house is on fire? No. Do I question mark it because I don't know what's happening? There was a lot of emotions.
Like,
happening.
are you okay? Yeah. And it reminded me, I don't know if you saw the Apple announcements this week, but one of the big updates for iOS 18 is not artificial intelligence. It's that all emojis will be available for the tap back. So we can have a bevy of reactions as opposed to just because there's a wide range between heart and thumbs up. You know what I mean? And
that's facts.
And thumbs up. Like, a lot of times the tone it gets lost. And
you're a jerk if you use thumbs up. That's it.
Okay,
well,
so
thanks, dude.
Yeah, but you don't want to. Sometimes you don't want to heart either. Like, heart, you want to reserve. Like, okay, so here is an example that happened. Moment. Yeah, exactly. You got to reserve those.
The Bible was talking about SMSing. SMS messaging.
That's what I've always read it as.
So moments before we got on the pod, so a friend of mine in my neighborhood texted me and said, "Hey, do you have the number for this pool guy that we mutually know? I think his number changed." And I went in my phone and I found his new number and I texted it to the guy, and the guy responded, "Thanks." Okay, with an exclamation point. Right. So, my instinct is to thumbs up, right?
Like, no problem. Got you, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, but if I get that, it's like, okay, thanks a lot, for you could have found this number. Like they could have misinterpreted.
It's passive aggressive. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, boop. Yeah.
Man.
But then it's like, he said, thanks, exclamation point. I connected two friends that were trying to connect. That feels to me, I love this. But if I heart the thanks, exclamation point, that could be equally as weird on the other side, and then if I just NP, no problem.
If he said thanks and you hearted it, that's the equivalent of you walking up silently behind him and giving him a soft little shoulder rub for about 10 seconds. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a little too intimate. Yeah, I got you, buddy. You know I got you, buddy. I always got you.
Yeah. And if it was like, it was like, hey, if
it's a little too much.
Could you connect me with that counselor you've been going to? At that point in the thanks, I give the heart. Right? Like, because that's like, oh, this is someone who's
pulling for you, buddy. You'll get through this. I love
But the pool guy doesn't feel heartworthy, but certainly not a thumbs up. And so I just left the thanks and exclamation point hanging out there. But
it's no telling how people feel about my text because I don't think about any of this. Like,
really?
honestly, I pretty much give the same. You're going to get a heart or an exclamation point from me.
I use the exclamation point a lot, which is what I ended up using for Derek. In case anyone wanted to know.
Exclamation point is it's my catch-all. It's I don't know what to do, so I just boop, boop.
It's open to interpretation.
I think they need a fist bump. I think a fist bump would be good. Like, thanks, bro.
Like in our in-office chat, we can emoji react to messages and stuff. And so if like another staffer like shared good news or like this is encouraging or whatever, it's like you kind of want to heart it, but then it's like red heart is gonna. So I do the white heart, the clear heart. It's like so that feels not romantic. It's just like I love that. I'm so glad, kind of thing.
I like using the salute. I always use a salute emoji as possible in our chat.
She literally.
Why you don't like the salute emoji?
No, it's funny. Except when Emily uses it, she's like sarcastically deferring to your authority or something. It's like, yes, sir. I'll do that for you. And it's like, stop, Emily.
It's a lot of pressure behind these emojis, y'all. Just use the same 3. People know you're going to get the same 3 from me, bro.
You know what I get a lot in the office chat is when we're kind of like, all right, that's what we'll do. It's the
arm, the bicep. I do that.
Yes, let's do that.
We got this. Yeah.
It's a strong effort here.
I don't think I've ever used that one. But that
well, it's because in the Google chat that we use, the strong arm is for some reason a robot arm. It's not like the human arm that Apple has. So it's weird that I'm throwing like this weird robot
prosthetic limb.
It's like this mechanical piece of metal. It's really strange. I don't get why they don't have.
They do have a real arm.
Do they? I type in arm and the robot arm comes up. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Try bicep.
Well, we have a great show in store for you today. Coming up later, we talk to Caleb Hearn. He's an indie folk pop artist that has blown up on TikTok. You don't want to miss that. At the end of the show, we have your feedback where you tell us your craziest summer vacation stories. But stay tuned. Right now, up next, it's Relevant Buzz. You're listening to Foster the People. The song is Lost in Space. Well, today's show is brought to you in part by The Grace Project, a compelling new novel by author Kyle Bullock. The story uncovers the details of a violent crime tied to a small-town church and the 4 members at the center of it all. Their lives collide as they confront weighty issues like racial equality, political divide, and LGBTQ inclusion through the lens of biblical grace. The Grace Project is perfect for individuals or small groups and is available now on Amazon in paperback, Kindle, or download on Audible. All right, it's time for
Relevant Buzz.
Tell us what's happening at the intersection of faith and culture this week, Emily.
Okay, so last week we talked about Netflix's new documentary, Dancing with the Devil. If you haven't seen it, it's the one about those TikTok dancers who joined a church and a management company that's led by this really charismatic pastor who basically runs his church like a cult.
Oh, that's what this is about?
Yeah, Derek, you haven't seen it?
I might have to watch it. No, that's crazy.
Oh,
you need to watch it. Kev on stage was tweeting about it when it came out. He was like, he's like, didn't he and I watched it before it became a story. Like we watched it the day it came out just because like it's a new 3-part documentary or whatever. And he was like, it was a cult documentary. So, he said, I went into it assuming there's no black people because black people don't join cults.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Dude, and he goes, I was wrong. It's full of black people. And it's because it's targeting this like young, cool influencers in LA and drawing them into this Bible study / church, which, some say turns into a cult. It's wild, dude. You need to watch it.
I'm not for cults or manipulation or abuse. I need to qualify what I'm about to say with that.
I just did the arm emoji. Yes, we stand with that statement.
I probably should just end what I'm about to say there.
But
I'm already exclamating pointing.
But I feel like there's a lot of cults. There's like, religious cults, and there's like political cults, and there's like survivalist cults. Dance cult, if I'm going to be in a cult, dance cult sounds pretty cool. Again, I haven't seen the series. I'm just saying, if I were to rank cults I'd want to be involved with.
Okay, it wasn't a dance cult. It was these.
Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Real quick.
Yeah, dance cult sounds pretty.
Because if I'm doing survivalist, religious, political, some sort of yoga thing, I see those. I've seen a lot of movies about those. They go,
sideways.
Dance seems pretty good.
I mean, the meetings would be fire. I mean, they'd be great, right? It's just one big party. But no, it's
that would actually real quick. If I was an EDM artist, it would be called Dance Cult. That would be pretty cool.
Hey, look, I don't know about this because I saw this one girl. It was a little young Hispanic girl. It was in Spanish. I was watching it on YouTube, and she was talking about how she died, and she went to hell for like 5 minutes, and she saw the devil was making. She saw Michael Jackson in hell, and the devil was making everybody in hell moonwalk. So. Dance cult is probably not the way to go because you don't want to be, you know what I'm saying?
Again, this isn't a dance cult. This is okay. And I have to qualify this because there's people suing people right now. So I do not want to get sued by calling this church a cult.
I qualified it. I qualified with what I'm saying.
Right.
So what
I'm just saying, if this church may not be a dance cult, but if you get in a dance cult, you are in danger of going to hell with Michael Jackson and moonwalking for an eternity.
Listen,
That's what I'm saying.
If I end up in a dance cult, I'm not going to end up on some compound like with a showdown with the FBI or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this sounds pretty fun. Anyway, continue.
You're not going to shoot at the FBI. You're going to battle dance. It's a totally different thing. Yeah. So no,
is Omarion in the film?
Oh my God! COVID 2020, TikTok dancing, whatever, exploding in viewership and brand deals coming in, all this stuff. So there's these kids. There's a scene out in LA. They're doing dance videos. You've seen them. You've seen them all. It's kind of like Twitch from the Ellen Show. He was in that kind of crew, and like there's all these dancers and stuff. Anyway, there's this minister out in LA. Shekinah Church, and he did a Bible study, and one of the guys started going, got on fire for the Lord, started inviting his friends to come, and it became this thing that a lot of these dancers started going to this Bible study, which then became church meetings and stuff like that. So the fact that they got involved was kind of organic. It was like friends inviting friends sort of a thing. Once they got involved, the story goes deeply sideways, and that's what the documentary kind of uncovers. So it's like these mainstream, heavily popular, like 10 million followers type accounts on TikTok, like all on fire for Jesus, going to this church. They're famous. There's a lot of money being made. The pastor becomes their manager and their pastor, and it just gets sideways. Anyway.
So that's already setting itself up for a bad day.
Yep.
Manager and pastor or manager and parent.
Right.
Never good. Never
so anyway,
good.
It's definitely worth watching because we're all in the media industry and entertainment industry and it's like the church world. The first episode, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the first episode I was watching skeptically because I was kind of like, is this really kind of like that Hillsong documentary where, former members are like, and then they ask you to work on Sundays, like in the kids service, and they won't even pay you. And then they ask you to give 10% of your check. And like, it sounds weird to outsiders, but within the church world, it's not weird. I was watching it through that lens because it kind of was telling some of those stories. I was like, it sounds like sour grapes. Nope. Episode 2, it goes, what is going on? And episode 3 is crazy. So like, I would say, watch it. Yeah, like, it feels familiar. And then it shows like the abuse of ministry and influence that a person with bad intentions could have.
And bad dances.
Dance.
Yeah.
Lots of dancing. There actually is quite a bit of dancing.
Yeah. There's a lot of dancing. No, we really do highly recommend it. It is a really good documentary.
So this thing is still going on?
Dude, it's actively happening right now. This is not like 10, 15 years ago. This is still people are in it happening today. Yeah. So
right. So this is like within the last probably 2 years, a lot of stuff has like really started to come to light. And like I said, there in the documentary, there were a lot of dancers they spoke with who are now out of it and have kind of seen the things that have, the very problematic things, honestly. But not everyone has left. And one of the women who's kind of she's one of the main focal points of the documentary is a dancer named Miranda Derrick. She's really big on TikTok. If you look her up, you might have seen her face. But she is still very much a part of that world. And her family were interviewed in the documentary about how their relationship has changed and how they just want to get her back. They want her out of, this church, this kind of situation, which is a really common story in cult documentaries where they speak with family members to kind of hear their side of things. But Miranda is very tech savvy and she is very popular on social media. So she's been posting her own videos saying that she is not in a cult and that actually the documentary has put her in danger now because everyone sort of thinks they know her situation.
Did she consent to be on the documentary, or was
she's not on it? Her sister.
At the end of the series, the documentary producers do kind of put a little notice saying that they had reached out to her and a few of the other dancers who are still with the church, and that they hadn't responded. So
the whole thing is saying she's in a cult. That's why she doesn't want to.
Well, no, I'm saying like she declined to share. She declined to speak with them, but now she's speaking, like sharing her side of the story. So on Instagram last week, she wrote on a story that she feels like the documentary was really one-sided, and she explained that she gave her life to Christ in 2020, and she had asked her family for some space in the beginning to collect her thoughts and process her new walk while I wanted to take with God. My family didn't honor the space I asked for, and I saw a different side of them I've never seen before. And she just kind of goes on explaining like why, her family's saying that she's pulling away from, or that she's being kept from them. And she's kind of arguing, actually, no, I'm on this new spiritual journey and you didn't support it. And people are starting to react to that by sending her death threats. She actually posted a clip where she just talked about sort of the harassment she's been receiving. We're going to play a clip so you can hear what she has to say.
Hey guys, I know I don't normally make this kind of content, but I just wanted to be transparent and a little vulnerable with you. But before this documentary, my husband and I, we felt safe. Now that this documentary is out, we feel like our lives have been put in danger. We have both been followed in our cars. We have received hate mail, death threats. People have been sending us messages to commit suicide. We've been stalked. Someone said that if I see you on the street, I'm going to come and gut you, so you better get security. Someone also said that if I see you walking on the sidewalk, I'm going to come and shove you in the trunk of my car. So these are just some of the messages that I've been receiving behind the scenes. And I honestly don't understand how my parents and my sister thought that this documentary would help me or would help our relationship in any way. I don't understand that. And I have been getting together with my family for the past couple years privately to work on our relationship, to make things right, to mend what has been broken. And I've been loving it. I've been loving getting together, laughing, just enjoying each other's company. And this documentary has made it very difficult to continue doing that.
All right, Shaw. This is a question I got. This is a general question because this happens often. What did this girl do for just strangers to have this kind of vitriol towards her? I don't understand If she wants to be in a cult, that ain't got that's none of our business. And I haven't watched the documentary, so I don't know if the cult is doing stuff to people that's like evil or something. Maybe that's what it is. But I'm like, if she's just in this thing dancing for Jesus.
There's a couple of things. One, there are a couple members of the organization that have claimed sexual abuse that was covered up. Most of the people's experience that have left were talking about how the church was very hands-on and controlling with their money. So I, the pastor, am your manager. So I'll deposit $100,000 into your account. Here it is. And then I have control of your account. So I'm going to take out my 20% management fee. I'm going to take out 10% tithe for the church, 10% tithe to the man of God, 10% tithe to something else. Plus then, and all of a sudden you're left without that 100,000, you're left with $4,000. And there's receipts showing it. Like, this is like literally my bank transactions. And the church was doing that without them choosing to do it, And so go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, but if that's the case, Cameron, isn't this girl a victim then? Like, wouldn't she be the victim?
Thank you.
Yes.
And that's why we wanted to play this clip. Last week, she came out and said, hey, y'all, I'm not in a cult. I just love Jesus now. And my family aren't believers, and so they just don't understand. I need to have healthy boundaries, and that's why I've kind of limited my relationship with them as I've started this new chapter of my life. That's what she said last week. This week, and we understood that. This week, she's saying, I'm getting death threats. And that's what we can't understand. It's like, if you're concerned for Miranda, thinking she's trapped in a cult, why would you threaten her? You would want to rescue her, if anything. You pointed out exactly why this caught our eye. It's weird.
Yeah, but the internet does that to people. That makes the modern internet is an outrage machine, and it more than any other emotion, not empathy, right? Where in this case, like it's the opposite of empathy. It fuels outrage and just makes people angry. So it is a concerning story.
All right, what else do you have?
Okay, so we've been talking about the rise of nuns for a really long time now, right?
The uprising of nuns.
The nuns forming an army to overthrow.
Yes, I am talking about Sister Act 3. Psych, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about...
Psych. Man, she brought it all the way back. Wow.
Yeah, and she side-eyed me for saying SMS, which I'm pretty sure is still the technical term.
Yeah,
and
but
she dropped a psych in here. Yeah.
I feel like I'm team psych, not team SMS. Anyways, no, I want to talk about the people who have no religious affiliation, the nuns. For years, researchers have predicted that by 2070, nuns would be the most popular religious demographic in the U.S. And it would encompass 52% of Americans, so the majority.
Can I just say this would be so much more shocking if it was the other nuns? That if NUNS became 52% of the American population, that would be the story of the century. Anyway, continue.
I will say, with how dating apps are going, there could be an argument to be made that those nuns are going to have a rise soon. But that's a story for a different day. No, this year there have been a few new studies that have come out that argue that nuns actually might not be increasing anymore. It seems like things have actually sort of plateaued for the group, and they might not be taking over. So since about the 1990s, there's been a really big increase in the nuns, and the 2010s saw their biggest jump from 24% in 2010 to 34% in 2020. 10% in just 10 years. That's a big increase. But ever since 2020, it hasn't changed. It's remained at just about 1/3 of Americans. With the younger generation, Gen Z, it's actually going down.
The non-affiliation, saying they have no religious affiliation, is going down. Does that mean that more people are falling into like atheism? Because when I just say I have no religious affiliation, just I don't really have any strong convictions. Are they falling into atheism, or are they finding God? Why is the number going down?
It's going down because they are finding religion. So in 2022, Gen Z said that 48% of Gen Z said that they were nuns. Last year in 2023, that number dropped 6% to 42%. So they're definitely trending down, kind of at a fast pace too.
That's huge.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess it's hard to quantify. There's probably a lot of social science that goes into it, like the reasons why. But did they give any indication of, why it seems to be trending the other way? Because from my understanding of demographics, institutional religion seems to be losing influence, right? Like, I mean, the church attendance seems to either have been on a slow decrease or at least plateaued. Did they give any indication of why they seem to becoming more religious?
So far, there isn't a study that really looks into that. But one thing that I've been considering, though, is that I do think churches provide a really good sense of community. And we know that Gen Z is struggling with isolation and community. And I could see them turning to church or some sort of religious institution for that help and filling that void. And so obviously, I think there are probably a lot of factors into why this is happening. But that is something that I feel like I've noticed is when people talk about why they got back to church, it was, I needed community. I needed people around me.
And what's interesting to me is that you didn't say this, but to be plateaued, if Gen Z and millennials are decreasing, that means the older generations, boomers and others, are increasing, which is funny to me because the closer they're getting to death, you would think they would get more religious, like they're thinking about the afterlife, but they're not. They're losing their faith as they get older, and the younger people are turning to faith, which is an unexpected shift in just a couple of years. So caught our eye.
I also think, and maybe this is just indicative of kind of the media that I consume, right? So I'll qualify, but like
InfoWars.
Yeah, exactly. Heavy doses. Newsmax. All the, just mainline it. Just that's all I want us to read. Some interesting stories out there, you guys. I don't know if you read about this Hunter Biden stuff, but this laptop will not go away.
Isn't it amazing how one felony conviction proves that the justice system is broken and this is rigged, and another felony conviction shows that the justice system works and that a jury of their peers made the right clear-headed decision?
We can't be getting into that.
Listen, so you've been reading the same news I have then, if that's what you believe. Congrats.
And look, all the black people on the sideline like, see, we told y'all this how it worked. We've been showing y'all the whole time. People just use this for whatever they want to use it for.
That's the thing. It's like, if the outcome is what you want to see, it works. If the outcome isn't what you want to see, it's broken.
It's a travesty, right? It's broken. We got to tear it all down.
But what I was going to say is, like, there has seemed to be, like, I remember, I don't know, maybe a decade and a half ago, there was kind of like the new atheism movement, and there was a lot of a lot of books and intellectuals that were making the case not just against like kind of a scientific belief in God, but also how destructive religious institutions were. Had the work of Christopher Hitchens, and The God Delusion was another big book around that time. And it seemed to be, sort of very like trendy, where I feel like a lot of intellectuals now, for a variety of reasons, but one interesting reason, I think, the more there's been recent kind of discoveries in the world of like physics, and even with like the CERN particle accelerator, and how, we're getting these images back from like the James Webb telescope that are really calling into question even like how we interpret the age of the universe. I mean, the conventional thinking up to now says like 13.5 billion years. Now that's being totally rethought based on brand new kind of research coming out of, these satellites.
6,000 years old.
Hard stop. I mean,
are you kidding me?
There is a young Earth creationist theory that says 6,000 years old.
But the other thing too is like
I was making a joke of Ken Ham. I was making fun of Ken Ham. So.
But the other thing too is like there's been some conventional questioning of like conventional physics, and just how we understand the universe has in the last, I don't know, like I said, decade, and honestly, last handful of years, where people have become much more open to the idea that there are forms of life and intelligence beyond just what we can perceive with our five senses. Like, I wonder if that has something to do with it too. Like, it seems like a lot of the conversations happening around like the idea of religion, not religions themselves, on sort of these intellectual levels, seem to have pivoted to a much more open, where it was much more closed, even like I said, like a decade and a half ago when, the new atheism movement was on a rise. That's totally anecdotal, right? Like I don't have any kind of evidence to say conversations are moving that way, but it seems to be something I've observed when you hear high level conversations about faith and religion. There seems to be a lot more openness and not like, oh, you're a dummy if you believe in God,
It feels that way for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I'm sure there will be more studies on it, and we'll definitely keep our eye on it. But before we wrap up, I do want to talk about one more thing. You guys probably saw that Pharrell is finally getting the biopic treatment with his new movie, Piece by Piece.
I saw that trailer going around a couple weeks ago. I thought it was like AI fake. Because I'm a huge Lego fan. I mean, you guys can't see what I'm looking at. A ton of Legos here in my office. Okay. But I'm facing a ton of Legos. I love Legos. I love the Lego movies. I think they're great. Love Pharrell. Seems like such a weird fit that the Pharrell is telling his life story in a Lego movie. But anyway, so I thought it was fake. No, it's not fake. It's really happening. So
yes, it is very real. We will get to watch a Lego Pharrell tell his journey. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be fun. And you may be thinking like, you're hype. Okay, good. I was like, if you aren't hype, I do think I have something that will make you guys really, really hyped about it. He did an interview with Variety about this and kind of how it came to be, why he did it this way. And I want to read one of his quotes because it's really significant to me. He said, "This film is about my life and how God is continuing to give me the pieces that put it together, piece by piece, and to have really amazing people along the journey in my constellation."
Talk about it.
We love a little shout out to God, right? We're happy about it. And he even talked about how he made 2 new songs for the film. One is for a specific scene. And then he said the other one, also for a specific scene, tells the story. And he said, it's like my thesis, which is that God is the greatest. And having that awareness, just understanding that's the story. So I'm excited, like even more than I already was just watching the trailer.
This thing's about to blow up. This is about to be one of the biggest movies of the year for sure.
And I think the Lego thing makes sense to me because like a lot of music biopics, like the arc is pretty similar, right? Like there's an artist who's talented and they have to overcome some sort of thing from their youth to propel them to success. Straight Outta Compton or Bohemian Rhapsody or Walk the Line, you know what I mean? There's the arc is sort of overcoming either your circumstances or something that's happened. Pharrell has kind of had a charmed, like, you know what I'm saying? Like there isn't like this like big kind of adversity. He's always been this like creative that has kind of, since he was in high school, right? Like instead, I think taking the story and making it fun and making it and kind of putting it into like this creative medium like Legos is perfect for an artist like him who, like you ever heard the expression, sometimes the arrow draws the bow. Like he's one of those guys that like lets it come to him and he knows how, to kind of move in the waves of culture in really interesting ways that I feel like a conventional biopic would be hard for them to do it. But in like the colorful world of like Lego and kind of fantasy, I feel like that's a cool medium for a guy like him.
Yeah. And it's apparently a Christian movie. So unsung hero, Pharrell movie. It's a big year for Christian movies all of a sudden. Chosen.
Yeah. It'll be out in October, by the way, October 11th.
There you go.
We'll go see it.
I like it.
That'll do it for Relevant Buzz. Make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every weekday where we're covering the intersection of faith, culture, and everything in between. All right. Stay tuned. Up next, it's Caleb Hearn. You're listening to the Black Keys. The song is This Is Nowhere. Well, today's show is brought to you in part by World Vision. We all subscribe to a lot of services that make our lives easier and more entertaining. But as followers of Jesus, we should want to seek first the kingdom of God in all areas of life, including our spending. That's why I'm so excited about a new kind of subscription through World Vision. Not one for myself, but for others. It's called Believers for World Change. And when you sign up, you're joining a community of change makers working to help end extreme poverty around the world and here at home. World Vision is a Christian humanitarian organization that works with children, families, and communities to reach their God-given potential, focusing on things like gender equality, spiritual nurture, and access to clean water, education, job training, and healthcare, so the entire picture of poverty can be addressed. Let's subscribe to something new together. Subscribe to World Change today at worldvision.org. Again, that's worldvision.org, which is also where you'll be able to see them perform this summer after they canceled their arena tour. Nowhere. Well, our guest today is Caleb Hearn. He's a folk pop indie singer-songwriter who's blown up on TikTok over the last couple of years with songs like Always Be and Brown Eyes, Brown Hair. He's releasing his debut album a little later this year, so we wanted to sit down with him to hear more about his unexpected journey and how his faith in God has played a major role in his career. Here's our conversation with Caleb Hearn.
You hold me in the darkness, hold me till it hurts less. You tell me that I'm alright, show me where the light shines through. Please stay, love me through the weather. Please say this will be forever. Hold me in the darkness, even when it's hard with you.
You know, I would really love to hear sort of your origin story. Like, when did you start making music, and what made you want to pursue a career?
Yeah, it's a interesting question because it's kind of like one of those things where I started and then I kind of put it down and then got back into it and that kind of thing. So I started making music, technically, not professionally or releasing music or anything, just like really started writing songs when I was like 11 or 12 when I got a guitar for Christmas. And it was during the whole Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran era. And which I guess you could say they're both still in the same era. Nothing's changed. But for me, it was just like looking up to these singer-songwriters and learning how to tell a story with music. And I really enjoyed it. So I did that for just, as a therapy kind of thing for a few years. And then when I went into high school, I started playing sports, so I kind of went away from it a little bit. And I met my roommate now. He actually moved to Nashville with me, but I met him in high school. And he was interested in music as well. And we were like, well, like, if there's somebody else that's doing it, maybe that's a sign, because I'm from a small town and it just was not a thing to make music or write or anything like that. So we would just do it after basketball practice, actually, and just write songs, stay up late and that kind of thing. And we eventually moved to Nashville a couple years after, or a year or so after COVID. And during COVID is kind of when I started releasing music and just seeing what I could throw out there and trying to get better and that kind of thing. And then we kind of made the jump a year after that and moved to Nashville. And and ever since I've just been kind of writing music and signed to a record label about 2 years ago, right when I moved to Nashville. And yeah, it's just been like a slow grind from there,
I need you like water, a man in the desert. I need you like a child needs a father. You hold me together like.
It is really cool for me to see how many artists move to Nashville these days. Do you feel like the move's been worth it? Like, have you changed or grown a lot since moving here?
Yeah, I think the number one, the number one thing that I noticed in growing was, I was in North Carolina doing this. I was doing it full time, just by myself, and like working over Zoom with people, taking trips to LA, that kind of thing, and it was really great. I think the number one thing I learned though was when I moved to Nashville, how many people were doing this and how many people were really good at doing this, and I think that was an eye-opening thing, and I think it really kind of hurt me in the beginning. I think I let it get to my head a little bit, and I struggled for a bit. But I think the part of the growth there was learning that I can this isn't all just a competition and me trying to be better than the person beside me or whatever. That's the great thing about Nashville too, is it's just like, it seems like everyone wants to kind of grow together. And it's not a very like, oh, I have this and you don't. It feels like people genuinely want to see you succeed. And, so surrounding myself with people that are working maybe harder than me at that time, it kind of motivated me to say, okay, like, he's working this hard or she's working this hard, and I need to be doing that because I care about it just as much, and I want to put myself in that same position. So seeing people succeed around me was a big growing point in my life, just because I was constantly watching people around me grow. And it kind of, you either stop what you're doing and go do something else, or you grow with them. And so I had to make that choice, and I think that was a really, really cool moment.
I've noticed that you can get pretty vulnerable in your music. Have you always been so introspective and, emotional?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I'll go back to you there and say, best question I've heard in a while. I think that I've always been, my parents will even say, like, I've always been the kid that is a little more emotional, even though, like, the front I may give off or whatever, when I meet someone, they might not think like I'm just an open book and an emotional person, just because I was not really raised that way. But there's always been just a part of me that really, really wants to be as genuine as I can be. And that does kind of start back to even when I was a kid, just wanting to know the real side of people. And, because I think a lot of people just, not that it's a bad thing, I think everyone's just wired differently, but I think that a lot of people are just, are completely fine with just meeting someone and whatever they give off is enough, and for me, it was always like, when I met someone, I always felt kind of empty if I didn't get all sides of them, and I wanted to bring that out because I wanted to bring that out in myself. And I would only feel comfortable doing so if they did, So that was always like a thing growing up. Like, my closest friends to this day are the ones that, I was able to drag that out of them and learn everything about them and really know them. And I think that kind of goes along with like the music now too, with just being honest and vulnerable. I want to be as straight up to people as I can. I find myself sometimes opening up to people I just met, and I'm like, what am I doing? But I'm doing it. And it's just a part of me. I don't know. Like, I think it definitely can be like a downfall, but it also is really, really nice because obviously you kind of give away sometimes too much off the bat, and it's like, oh, well, they know everything about me. But I would rather it be that way than being kind of closed off and not really sharing, because I feel like the connections that you make with people are just so much deeper when that's your thing. And yeah, with music, I feel that same way with like the music I'm putting out. I develop a more personal and real connection with just fans and listeners and that kind of thing too, just from like going to shows and people coming up to me and telling me about this song that I wrote that means this to them, and like that's what makes it all worth it, because I would much rather have one person do that than 100 people just being like, oh yeah, like I like your jam, or I like the music, but it's just that personal, like, wow, this song or this lyric really touched me and I relate to that, and then this long conversation stemmed from that. So it's definitely always been a part of me, for sure.
I think I'm gonna love you. I think I'm gonna bring you home, and I think every little moment will lead us right where we should go. I think we're gonna learn how forever's gonna feel. I know you can't make every wish come true.
You've also been pretty outspoken about your faith, both in your music and on social media. What role does your faith play in your music and career?
Of course, yeah. I love that question. Yes, I am. I am a Christian. I was raised Baptist, and I don't necessarily love putting a label on it anymore. Just because of, it's, you get it. I think the best way to describe it is I have my relationship with Jesus is very important, and I, whether or not I necessarily come out and say that blatantly in my music or not. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know. I might. I've thought about it, but I do feel like I just want my life and my journey to display that, as much as I can. So whether that's in the lyrics and the music, I do try my best to kind of keep that, I guess you could say, like, image in my music, whether or not I'm saying it blatantly. I think it's the most important thing, not one of the most important thing in my life. And I think with my mental health too, they kind of go hand in hand. Like, that's a big thing that's helped me in my own mental health is my faith and my relationship with God. And yeah, it's been amazing, and I love talking about it, and really glad you asked that question. It's really cool.
Gonna feel, I know you can't make every wish come true, but I'll spend my whole life trying to.
That was Caleb Hearn. Make sure to check out his new singles. I think he's got like 4 new ones out on Spotify. They are wherever you listen to your music. All right, stay tuned. Up next, it's your feedback. You're listening to Chappelle Roan. The song is Good Luck, Babe. Well, today's episode is brought to you in part by American Prophet. What would God say through a prophet today? In the speculative new fiction book, American Prophet, Peter has dreams of major events that keep coming true. Heralded as a modern-day prophet, he also attracts conspiracy theories and violent threats. Forced to the open road, Peter strives to remain true to his calling as he drives deep into the heart of a divided nation. Download your copy of American Prophet today. Hey, if you like this podcast, but you might like it better if there were no ads, you can do that. Head over to relevantmagazine.com and sign up for Relevant Plus. For just a couple bucks a month, you get this podcast ad-free. You get ad-free unlimited reading at relevantmagazine.com, including the full podcast and magazine archives, our beautifully designed digital issue, and a little more. Check out all the info right there on the Relevant Plus tab at relevantmagazine.com. Good luck, babe. That's what people say when they break up. Yeah. All right, it's time for your feedback. Last week we asked you, it's, summer, vacation, stuff like that. I forget what story we were talking about that brought this up.
Oh, Jesse's entire cruise.
That's right. Oh, yeah, Jesse's cruise. There you go. What is your most memorable or craziest summer vacation experience? You guys hit us up on X at Relevant Podcast. Some of you DM'd us longer stories, and here's a few of our favorites.
Hayden said, halfway through our Italy trip, we were notified that instead of asking for the check at the end of a meal, we had been very politely asking for our waiter to sing. My only problem with this tweet is that sounds like the beginning of the story, not the entire story. Like, what did the waiter sing? Like, So
they were doing the little international, check symbol hand motion. And in Italy,
I think they were asking in Italian, or they thought they were asking in Italian for the check. But they were saying, can you sing?
Sing, please. Where our waiter's like, all right, here we go.
I guess I got to work for a tip. Yeah.
All right. Well, they asked
That's pretty funny. Every time you ask for a check, he just starts busting out in song. You're just like, we just want to pay and leave,
Sing,
man.
Please. Yeah. And they're handing them money. You know what I mean? Like, all right, when the moon is dry. It's Italy. So obviously that's the only song they sing at dinner there.
Lily says, I'm from the U.S. and anyone in the U.S. knows that McDonald's ice cream machine is always down. It's comical because it's like that all over the U.S. Well, she goes to Bangkok, her and another American friend, and they said, man, well, let's check out these McDonald's chains. And they get some great food, but they ordered an ice cream, and guess what? The machine is down.
Honestly, that's kind of beautiful that like worldwide, no matter where you go, you can never get. Who was the last person to get McDonald's ice cream? Like, has anyone gotten it in the last 5 years?
First of all, you can go to mcbroken.com and there is a live interactive map of your area that you can search your area and see if the ice cream machine is down or not. In most major metro areas, it's about 10 to 15% of the McDonald's that have it down. But
that
you can
feels
check,
low.
You can check your area. Go to mcbroken.com. I point this out.
Nashville doesn't look like there's a lot of them here.
Yeah, in Orlando, I'm looking at 90% are up right now. There's a few that are down. You know why it's down all the time, though? We've talked about this. It's because they signed a contract with the vending machine or the supplier that they cannot service the machines except this company that they bought it from can service it. So if it goes down, they're at the mercy of that company to come out and fix it. And apparently they're just terrible at customer service. They can't just have a local guy fix it or a staff member just reset this or whatever, like contractually union rules or whatever. Only a service person from this one company can come and fix it. That's why it takes forever.
Oh, the one by my house is working. I might go get me some ice cream.
There you
after
go.
this is over
See?
with.
The one by my house is working.
Kid who almost burned down the house?
No, he doesn't get anything. he may not be able to stay here when I get off of him.
Yeah.
He may be coming to stay with Cameron for the rest of the summer.
Hey, bring it. I'll welcome him gladly. I'll just unplug the microwave when I'm in the other part of the house. It's all good.
Can't mess with it.
He's like, your microwave doesn't work. It's like, yeah, I know. It doesn't work for you.
Right.
I do want to talk about John Paul's. He was in Brazil and he went to a church that was called, I'm not even going to pretend to say this, but he thought it was just a normal church, right? It says it had a giant dove on the front. He goes in 30 minutes later after having 2 exorcisms because I didn't speak Portuguese and was too polite to shove the pastors during a church service. I stepped around the person trying to block the door and ran down some dicey Brazilian road alone at night. That is crazy.
That's terrifying.
That's not good.
I ain't gonna lie. That's terrifying. Dang,
that one would stick with me for a while.
I'm sorry, Obi.
Well, there's a lot more where that came from. I mean, like a lot more. So if you want to check him out, well, you can't get into our DMs, but you can go see the replies over at Relevant Podcast. Okay, it's time for this week's
editorial question of the week. Hey.
Well, we were talking earlier about Derek's near-death experience. Sorry, man.
At the hands of his child, too. Ooh.
The fact that the internet is the thing that contacted you that your house was on fire is the thing that's troubling to me. It's like,
little dystopian.
A lot satellites were involved at what happened this morning.
Bruh.
We want to know, and we've told a lot of these stories over the years on this show, but like Jesse and I have also had a lot of near tragedies as kids, just, trying to do stuff on our own and not asking for help. And then we find ourselves a little in over our heads. We want to know, what is something you did as a kid that maybe went a little more sideways than you had planned, like almost burning your family's house down when you just wanted some fish sticks. Hit us up on Twitter or X at Relevant Podcast, or wherever you see us post this question. Tell us the times that you were a kid that you had a near tragedy. We don't want any sad stories. We want near tragedies.
Yeah.
Not actually that something horrible happened, Anyway, hit us up. We'll read our favorites on next week's show. Well, before we wrap up, I want to thank Caleb Hearn for joining us. Make sure to go check out his new music wherever you get your music. It's obviously on TikTok and stuff, but it's on Spotify and everything else. And keep your eye out for his debut solo album coming out a little later this year. Also, keep your eye out for something else we might be doing with him in a couple of weeks. Not to give it away. All right. Hey, make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every day, where we are covering faith, culture, and everything in between. We're posting new content all the time. Follow us on all the socials. If you want the best content experience from Relevant, make sure to check out Relevant Plus. For those $250 a month, you get ad-free, unlimited reading at the website. You get an ad-free version of this podcast. You get a beautifully designed digital magazine and more. All the info is over at the website. Just click the Relevant Plus tab right there at the top and sign up today. All right. On that note, we'll wrap things up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Derek Miner.
I'm Emily Brown.
All right. We'll see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
Like heart, you want to reserve.
Relevant Podcast Network.